Hello and welcome. I'm Shadow of Shadow Gaming, bringing you Programming with Shadow, episode 47. And today we're gonna see if we can finish up our watch list here and get started on testing. So what we have here is a CSV parser and formatter, and what we're doing is we're reading out and writing the files and playing around with CSV format just a little bit. Here's some examples of how they end up looking. And we found a bug. So the first line contain a comma as well. And right now it doesn't support that. So what I was trying to do is just split it into five fields and be done. But I think we're gonna have to do a little better than that. So go ahead and I'll put this at the top for now, but I'll move it to the bottom later. But let's do it in private. Let's do it internal. We'll see internal when we do testing, or it'll actually help us. Static string array. Split CSV. String line. Okay, so something like that. So, and here, comment this out for now. Now we'll do split CSV, passing in line. Alright. So, we're going to need some information, and we have a clean string method. So, all this is doing is it does the logic to, or if it starts with if it doesn't start with a quote, a double quote, it returns the string. Else it trims the double quotes from the edges and replaces any internal doubles with a single. So here, let's do that again. So we'll need that in here. So let's start with string. Let's call it fields, I think. Equals new, and we'll have 5 fields, so we'll just hard code that to begin with. All right. We'll do int index equals 0, and I think I'll need a counter. Let's see if we need it first, but I think I'll need an index. While index less than 5, we could probably, yeah, we'll go this route. So my thought here was to do like this. So we have an array, so we have 5 cells. That. We have something like that. And as we go through, just fill out this one, move the index, fill out this one, and so forth. The other way we could do this is we could just do this as we go and create the movie as we go and just split it out. So that could be the better option, actually. Then we just need to do this logic on the inside. I like the idea of separating it out, but I also like the idea of only looping through the line once. So, I think I'm going to do that. I think we're going to stick with the looping once and not go with this method actually. So we'll comment that out. All right, so let's restart. So let's get the fields again. So string fields equals new string 5. Do int index equals 0. Let's say fields index because that's what I'm indexing. All right, and now while it's less than 5. I'm using magic strings. Let's make that concrete. Const int number of fields equals 5. Now we can just use that. All right, so there we go. So I'm trying to think what I want to do now. So we need to check if it starts with a quote. So let's do this. Let's do full is quoted equals false. We'll assume it's not, but we'll check here if on it 0 equals a quote. Okay, so here's what I thought I needed an I for. So we'll do an int I, and we'll put the I here. So as we're going through, we'll be able to parse through this. So like that. So one thing here is if this is an empty string, this isn't going to work. So let's do this. Throw if null or empty line. There we go. Okay. All right, so now we've got this. So now if we have it, we'll do I plus plus. So what we're doing here is we'll skip the quote. So now we need to put together that line. So we need to take whatever value there. So grab the first field. So let's see. What do I want to do there? So everything after this up until the next quote, but it can't be a double quote. Yeah, that's going to get a little complex. So we'll try it. We'll try it. I may want to split it out as we go. So let's see. I think my first thought is to put it into a string builder object. So like string builder sb equals new. And then we can loop through. So while I is less than line length. What do we call it? Line dot length. Yeah. So now we'll grab the character. Yeah, exactly that. So character. So the current character. Instead of C, we can say current car. You could do current character too. I'm going to shorten it, but whichever one. Now there's two branches. So if we set that quoted to true, we need to start looking for quotes. So if it's quoted, then we need to do another check. So if current car is a quote. So if it is a quote, then we'll do we need to check if the next one's also a quote. So if I plus 1. I like the Copilot here thinks or knows what I'm doing pretty much. So if it's the next value exists and on it I plus 1 equals a quote, then we'll just be append a single quote. Then we'll do I plus equals 2. Skip the next two. Skip the escaped quote. So that's all we're doing. If we're quoted, we need to check if we find one. If we do, we skip the escape. Else, we skip the quote unquote. Because if it's a single but there's no value, we know that's quote unquote. Semicolon. We can drop our is quoted and break, because then we're done. So a break breaks us out of this while loop and puts us back into this while loop, so all number of fields are in. Good. Yeah, I think that works. So let's see, let's pull back. So this one's good. If the current character's this, we need, let's get right. We need to append it, but I think we'll append it in general. So let's go on to else. So if it's a quote, I don't think there's anything else there. So let's see. So let's see. Anytime you've got this structure here where you've got all this separation, probably a good sign you can split some of this out. So we'll do that in a minute. But let's see. I'll think about this. So if it's a quote, I need to do this. If it's not a quote, I just need to append the current character. Yeah, and so skip the next character. I think that should do it. Then the is quoted case is finished. Then we can say else. This is the regular case, so there is no quote. So if character equals comma, the commas are other separator. So if it is, we're done. The field's over. Break. Else sp dot append current character good. Apples plus. And there's good. And I think that finishes this while loop out. So the inner while loop's just checking each field. So then we can do fields at field index equals that. The fields at field index gets the string builder's contents. Now if I is less than the line length, so if the next value exists and line I is a comma plus plus. At the end here, we should have a fields. Oh, I ended up doing it as the method anyway. I should have just kept it in the method. So what this does is it's going to do that whole separation thing. So now that I've done it like that, we'll just put it in here in this method anyway. Okay, so there's just a method, and all values return field. All right, so there. So I did it as that anyway. So I should have just stuck with my original plan. Unnecessary, but I'll leave that one. All right. So now at that point, then we have the split fields, and then we can do the parsing. So here we claim the escape string. We already did that though, so I guess we don't need to do that. So maybe we can just go back to this. We can parse out correctly here. And I don't think we need this one either, so do that. Let's go test that. So we'll add a comma B. It needs quote around it. And it is a -1. Dates first. We'll say 2016. False. -1 and nothing. Now we need another, so we'll say A, comma B, comma C, comma, and 2025. False. -1. A, comma B, A, comma B, comma C. Okay, so there's just a little more training data. So let's see what happens. And I guess we'll see if I have any breakpoints still set from last time. Okay, does not work. Okay, good. So let's set a breakpoint there and let's see what happens. I guess we can see it here. I is 51. That's going to take a bit to count. Here, let's cheat. Notepad. Clean up that. Clean up too many. Okay. So now 51, so it's saying the last position doesn't exist. All right, let's check our logic there. So line at I. Wait a minute. Stop. Let's start here. 0. So it is not quoted. All right. B. Star Wars. Let's do a here. Now let's just start skipping to this point. You can see it building down there at the bottom. SB. Oh, I forgot the incremental field index. So that would be here. We'll do there. We could also just put it inside here. This would also work. Probably be more idiomatic. So that just says increment the field index afterwards. Now I think if we run this, we should see it work. Yeah. Same thing. It's 54 this time. Return of the Jedi did not get it correctly. Okay. All right, let's do this. Let's Oh, there's no optional field. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So I didn't account for optional here. While this is the case, and I less than 1. Try that. There we go. And look that now that looks very much like what we were wanting. Yeah, okay. I think that got it. A little confusing, probably, but I think they got it. So let's do we'll add one more to the list. We'll do A comma B comma C comma D. Add one more. It was released 2024. No. -1. Hi. Did it crash? Okay, no. Good. Let's keep continuing. And got it. Okay, I think that got the parser at least working. So we'll do a save and exit. And now if we go check that build output, we should see that file. So we'll go here, go to and see it. Open in File Explorer. Let me go ahead and just open that. So here's the file on down in that spot. And looks like it quoted correctly. There's 5 quotes here, 4 here. Okay, I believe that's got us. Now we can get rid of that. All right, so there. All right, so I believe that concludes that to do. And I believe that'll be acceptable for us. So one thing, let's move this down. Normally I like to put internal methods after public methods. Just makes it easier to find in the list. Not all the time, but I usually do. All right, so there we go. All right, so okay. So that brings us to, I think that's all. Let me check the thinking there's some way to check to-dos. I don't remember how. Search. Yeah, no more to-dos left. There's still stuff should do, but at least there's part of it. So what I would like to do now is move back to our previous topic of testing and go and write some basic unit tests for the parser in particular, also the formatter. I don't think there's anything else here like this. Not really any logic here. There's a little bit here in the toString, but I don't think it's worth worrying about. Here you could add a little bit here, so you could add a little bit here to check the different cases, but I'm going to say we'll visually inspect them for now. Unless I want to do this get watch status and save watch list, I might want to do them just because we have to think about them a little differently since they read and write to the file system. All right, but yeah, let's start with the formatter. I think it was actually simpler. Yeah, it's definitely simpler. So let's do this. So if we go over here to Open Solution Explorer, right click on the solution, I'm going to click Add New Project. New project. So I'm going to pick XUnit test project. You may have to search for it. You can see I have new ones here for XUnit 3. We'll stick with 2 for now, but we might play around with 3 later. So let's see. We'll do movie watch list dot unit tests. There we go. Long-term support is not their standard term. We'll do that. All right. So here we go. Here's us their project. So I'm going to come here and I'm just going to click F4 here. We're going to turn off implicit using this one for a moment. That's just so we can remove that too. We just want to be able to see the XUnit for now. All right, so there we go. Let's rename that class too. We'll call this movie list CSV formatter tests. Yes. All right. So there we go. I'm going to split this to the right. Like that. And we'll leave that as is and we'll open the formatter. All right. So formatter has 2 methods here. Let's swap this to make this a little more legible. So we'll clean up this method now. So let's say if it doesn't contain a comma. So if it doesn't contain a comma, then we'll return the string, and else we'll do the rest of this. There we go. So that's just moving the layer out a little bit. I think in the long run that's a little more readable, but we'll go with that. Some people don't like having 2 returns. I think in this case I don't care. All right. So let's just start. So we'll start with the escape string. So my personal style, I like starting with the method name and then what you're testing or what the result is. Returns the same when there is no comma. So something like this. So what we could do here, we could have a few different ways to do it if we wanted to. I'm going to leave it like this, but we could have more. So let's do var, there's no system under test. We'll say actual equals movies. We need to do one thing. Over here, we need to right click. We need to go to add a project reference. So we need to make sure we have the project here so we can actually test against it. So if you go look at the CS project again, that just adds a project reference here and it's just pointing back to that project. That lets us do what I was just trying to do. So expected equals movie dot CSV formatter dot escape string. We'll do string input equals input. And then assert dot equals, say expected actual. This should be actual string expected. All right, so what we could do now is instead of doing this, we could parse these in as a theory. That way we can try a couple of these. So let's do that. So we'll switch this to theory and add a inline data. And it'll have two strings. And we will take in string expected, string input. And there we go. So there's us a test. So empty string, that should be fine. I just tried to duplicate that, but it didn't work. Alright, so we get what we expect. If it doesn't have a that. If it has a couple characters, if it has a string inside, so we have to escape the inner one. Notice the input's looking a lot like the output. That's because there's no comma inside. So we'll make sure all these work. Those look like our edges. The one thing there is that we are going to need to add a extra around this. Here, let's just see them fail first. We'll do that first. So I'm going to run rebuild all. Should give me a. I was hoping it would give me a run a test button here, but I guess it's not going to. We'll run it from here. Way down, but there's all 5 tests. You can see the expected values match. They all go green. Oh, it just returns the string straight up. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So there we go. So there's just a condition. So another one. We'll do a copy of this because we're going to want basically the same structure. So returns escaped string, and there is a comma. So here we'll do just a comma. That ends up being this. We'll do a comma before the character. Ends up being this. We'll do a comma after the character. I'm doing these backwards, aren't I? Yeah, let's flip that. That's just going to confuse me in the long run, not being able to see it. So we'll just flip those. Let's do that up here too, since they're exactly the same. We'll rerun that to make sure I didn't break anything, but since the strings are the same, that shouldn't affect anything. Here after. So basically, anywhere there's a comma, it's leaving the comma, but it's putting quotes around it. Here, duplicate this one. We'll put a comma here and a comma. Oh, this one's the special case. This one's special. We'll actually hold off on that. All right. Now, if we run the test, we should be able to run these. I think we'll succeed. Yes, good. Just to prove we do succeed, if I remove, like say this one, we rerun it, we should see that one fail. Or not run. Why did you not run? There. It should fail. If we restore that, you should be getting a little pop-up here that lets you run it from here, but for some reason I'm not getting that. I actually don't know why that is. There. I also don't know why my test there is trying not to run. But yeah, there we go. So there's just some tests there. So we have a third and final condition. So copy this. Comma. And double quote. All right. This condition in particular. So let's do this. We'll just do a single quote. So the single quote should be fine. Like it should go through as expected. The moment you start getting a comma inside, that's when things change. So here we'll say comma. At that point, then we'll have slash this, comma, slash this, and slash this. A lot more quotes all of a sudden. We'll copy the same line, so we'll put the comma afterwards, and we should see the exact same thing, just the commas in the other spot. Right there. That's a little complex to read, but that should be the cases. So comma before, comma after places. So we'll do one more. We'll do A, comma, B, comma, C, comma, D. Alright, that one's complex, so let's break that down. So first off, we'll have to surround it because it is escaped. Then we'll have A, comma, B, comma, two of them for the C, more, comma, 1, 2, 3, 4, B, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so great big long one, but let's see if that doesn't work straight off hand. You should probably, if you look at like test driven developments that I did, you run tests first. What it says is you should write a test that fails, go implement the feature, see if the test passes. We're not doing that structure, so we've wrote the code first, and now we're going through and testing that the conditions we expect actually work. So slightly different there, and the other one's probably better to catch problems because then you're not adding stuff you don't need. But that's not the way I thought about doing this, so I've done it the other way. But yeah, so there we go. So that string becomes that string. And that's a pretty big one. Okay. So let's move up to the main method here, format. So we'll look at this. So we'll say fact public void format returns we should probably have a catch here. So oh, it's a movie. Never mind. I was gonna say for the empty line, but there's no empty line. All right, so we returns movie without review when there is no review. All right, we'll do like that. So movie input equals new movie. Or not. Why not? Let's go glance at the movie real quick. Here. It just has a bunch of getters and setters. Okay. So movie. We'll set some input. So input dot title equals test, that's fine. Input dot year. It's a date time, right? New date time. We'll say 2024 1/1. We'll remove that. I should have added system up here at the top. It did. All right. So input dot review watched equals false. Input dot rating equals -1. So we're saying we haven't watched it. But what we should see is that there's no review in this string. So what we're saying is const string expected equals test, comma 2024, comma false, comma -1. So that should be the output we get, right? So this is all set up, and in fact we can just do this. We can do object initialization like that. A little cleaner probably. And then we can say assert dot equals expected, and then movie list formatter dot format input. You should see this one run, and look, it actually gives me the little arrow. I don't know why the other ones aren't. I guess they did. I just wasn't paying attention. But yeah, there, that one succeeds. So there we can format a simple movie, and it works. We'll copy this, and we'll do this should have been without a review. Turns movie with review when there is a review. We'll add a review here. This is a review. Notice I made sure not to add any commas, even though I almost did. Alright, so now we can run it here. Like I said, I don't know why. Field error. Oh. Forgot a comma, but I don't know why it wasn't giving it before, or if I just wasn't noticing it. But there we go. Grain. So there we go. There's just another test. Alright, fact void format returns escape title when title has a comma. And let's make this one a theory. We'll do string input. No, wait, we can't do the string input. We can do input title string expected. We'll do like that. So let's see. Empty string, we're fine. Then we get this. But it's empty, which should be fine. Copy the rest of this. Input title, so we'll put that there. I think that one will actually work. Okay, so it doesn't show up correctly for theories, it looks like. I knew I wasn't just overlooking it. Alright, we'll copy this. So next one we'll say if there's a comma, then you get something that looks like this. If there's a quote, then you just get something that looks like this. If there's something a little more complex, A comma B comma C C comma D, we should get this out. I think those should all work. So we'll go ahead and run it and see. I think I ran that test, but we'll run it again. And those are all green. There, the formatter seems to be working, so let's check something else. So alternates for movie watched, I guess. So we can check that. So let's not do that. Let's do the we'll just copy this, returns escaped, not title, but review. And review. Returns escaped review. We'll do this. Review title. Here we'll just do test again. Now we expect test this to be the empty string. Do this. Oops. Do that. So now we have one more condition. It should be nullable. Now we should be able to do this and say this is null. Now we don't get this. When we get this, here we'll get this. Here we'll get this. And here we will get this. All right, let's see if those work. I think they are going to, but I might have made a mistake. Yeah, there we go. So there's just another field tested, so that's all this logic. So finally, the only other logic here is the true or false. So let's check it. So voice is trying to go out. May have to end it here in a minute. About out of time anyway, so we'll have to finish up next time. Let's do a theory. Inline data. We'll say true. And then a false. Public void format returns correct watched value for both watch status values, something like that. So string input is the bool input. String expected. Let's write the test. It's this. I cannot type that. And instead of this, we'll say this is a review. We'll just straight up remove that field, let it be null. I call this input watched input, like that. So we'll do that. So what we should see is test 2024 true, -1, and that should be it. Should do that here, but it should be false, and that should be both conditions. I probably should do a little bit more logic there, but I guess we don't. Yeah, I guess we don't need to because we're controlling the output. So yeah, that's probably good. So let's see if this runs. Both pass. So now if we look at all the tests, go ahead and clap some of these. There we there we've wrote 26 tests, and I think I would feel pretty decent that we've got decent coverage. In fact, it's even showing me coverage. Does it do that now? Maybe that's not what it's showing me. But I feel like it's better coverage now, so yeah, I'll have to play around with that. I don't know why it's showing me coverage here, but not here, and why it's showing me coverage to begin with. There we go. We got 13 passing tests and 13 passing tests, so I feel pretty good with that. So there's more things you could test there, but that feels like what I would test, and yeah, we'll call it with that. So for next time, we have one more class. We have the harder parser class to do some testing on. We'll add a to do here so we remember to do test this class next time. That, I believe, will bring us to the end of this program, so we'll do that next time. We'll get to see how to deal with these internals. So that'll be next time. So in the day's lesson, we just finished up the parser, did a little bit of rewrite here, and then we've written some tests for the formatter. So next time we'll do the parser and finish up. So call it there. So thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.